Italy looking to kick on while France are looking to bounce back. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Italy versus France in recent years. This has been an absolutely cracking game. Hoping it's going to be the same as well this weekend. Let's have a look at, first of all, the high level details of the game. Then we'll look at each of the teams, talk about how the teams have changed, and then finally talk about how the teams have gone so far in the tournament and a prediction for the game. So it's Italy versus France. This was on Sunday, 23rd of February 2025. It's in the Stadio Olimpico. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff. If you're watching in South Africa, then it's a 5 o'clock kickoff. Last year was France 13, Italy 13. Italy, some would say the width of a post away from potentially winning, conversion coming off the upright. And then 2023 was Italy 24, France 29. So very close in the last few. Then the odds not, reflecting that honestly. Italy 11-1 and France 10-1 on to win. So big favourites for it. 50-1 for the draw. Okay, so let's have a look at the teams. We're going to start with the home team, Italy. So front row is Danilo Fischetti, then Gianmarco Lucchesi, Simone Ferrari. Second row, Niccolò Cannone and Federico Ruzza. Then back row, Sebastian Negri, Michel Lamro, and he's the captain, Lorenzo Cannone. Halfbacks, Martin Page-Rello and Paolo Garbisi. Left wing is Simon Jesse. Centers then Tommaso Menincello and Juan Ignacio Brex. Right wing, Ange Capuozzo, and fullback is Tommaso Allen. On the bench then we have Giacomo Nicotera, Mirko Spagnolo, Giosuè Zilocci, Riccardo Favretto, Manuel Zuliani, Ross Vincent, Alessandro Garbisi, and Jacopo Trula. Okay, so that's the home team. Now, let's have a look at the French team. So front row is Kroos, Mauvaka, and Antonio. Second row, Flamand and Guillard. The back row is Kroos, Baudin, and Aldrit. Halfbacks, Dupont and Ramos. Then left wing, Bielbiari. Right wing, Atasogbe. The midfield is Moefana and Baresi. And then you have Barre as the fullback. On the bench, Marchand, Bai, Aldaheri, Taufi Fanua, Roma, Jegu, Giolonche, and Luku. Okay, so those are the two teams. Now, let's talk about then kind of what changes there are for each of the teams. So starting with Italy again, made 2 changes to the starting 15. You got Lucchesi in for Nicotera, who drops down to the bench, and then Jesse is in for Montegiovanni, who is out injured. Then on the bench you have Spagnolo, Zilocci, and Favretto have come in, and Rizzoli, Riccioni, and Lamb have dropped out of the 23. So looking at that team, I think Lucchesi and Nicotera, either one of those starting, I think they're fairly close to each other in terms of what they give to the team. So I don't think the starting 15, diminishes or goes up depending on which one is starting. Honestly, I think as a pair, they're a decent pair of hookers. Then you got Fischetti there, who still think he's a fantastic player. Maybe not having the impact that he had kind of in his debut season, but still, I think now that he's kind of a bit more seasoned, just kind of the basics of his game, I think, have improved. Less maybe flash stuff, but still, a really, really good player. Then in the second row, you got Cannone in there. They seem to, change their second row a lot over recent years. But for me, this pairing here, Cannone and Ruzza, is probably their best combination there. Normally, like Lamb comes in or out or wherever. But Federico Ruzza, taking the most lineouts so far in the first 2 rounds. So I think he has 14 takes, and the next for any team in the tournament is like 8 or 9 or something like that. So he's way, way out ahead. And expect that to continue here as well. And the thing is, there's one thing knowing that he's the guy that's going to get most of the lineouts thrown to him. There's another thing actually taking the ball off him in that situation. He's just so good. Then Negri, Lamaro, and Canone, Lorenzo, that is, have gone well in the back row. It's good to see, some consistency as well in terms of the halfbacks, Pedrello and Garbisi in there, because there was a lot of kind of to and fro last year and the year before, Garbisi or Allen at 10, and then Pedrello or Pedrello, or you had Garbisi coming in, and then Varney as well. All options there as well, but it seems that they finally kind of found that their starting pair there. Then Jesse in for Ioane. He's a decent player, but Ioane is just that little bit extra for them, and especially just in terms of his ability to finish. Then that centre pairing, last year's player of the tournament, Menoncello, and then Juan Ignacio Brex is just class anyway. Ange Capuozzo kind of had, a bit of a kind of quiet tournament, honestly. I'm not sure that right wing is his best position. I obviously, you've got to pick the guy, you've got to put him in the team, right? But he looked more dangerous when he used to play at full back. But Tommaso Allen, he was in the mix for 10. They found a decent place to put him there at 15, and it works well for them. And then, to get Capozzo in the team, it kind of makes sense, because we saw over the last couple of years as well, they've been cycling through so many players on that right wing, trying to find something that works for them, and for whatever reason, it seems to be the problem position there. Decent players coming off the bench as well. For them, and the likes of Alessandro Garbisi and Trula as well, coming off the bench, decent and max. Then the likes of Zuliani and Ross Vincent, great players to spring from the bench there too. So should expect some impact from that. They'll hope to be somewhere close that any impact actually has an effect on the result rather than just the scoreline. But yeah, that's your Italian team. Now let's go through the French team and what changes they made. So 5 changes to the starting 15 for France. Flamand and Guillard into the second row. Romain drops down to the bench, and Emmanuel Miafu is out of the 22. Then Ramos moves from fullback to 10. Jalabert out of the 23. Atasogbe in at right wing. Pinot out of the 23. Then Barre in at 15, because Ramo is moving to 10. Then Aldaheri, Taufi Fanua, and Jalonche come onto the bench. That means Colombe, Aradou, and Lagaric, and actually Guillotin also drop out of 23 from the bench as well. So plenty of changes for them, there, and you kind of expect that after that, result against England and the performance, not just the result, the actual performance itself, the changes were going to be made. Also, against, rightly or wrongly against Italy, there are going to be a few changes anyway. So I think it was a combination of both, some changes as a kind of a reaction to the England game, and then some changes because of the opposition as well. Even though, this game probably closer than it should be really in recent years. And, just because when you think of France, they've been in the top 4 teams in the world for, an extended period of time now. But for whatever reason, they struggle against Italy. And the ranking between them would suggest that they should be, beating fairly comfortably. And, fair play to Italy, being able to do that against them as well. I think, again, one of the great things about the Six Nations. It doesn't matter in terms of world rankings or, what people perceive to be that this team was definitely better than this team. It's, you play the game and you get the result, and if it's a 13-all draw, then you can't really say, that Italy didn't deserve that last year. I thought they did really well in that game. But let's talk about how the teams have been going so far in the tournament. So first off, Italy, fairly decent performances so far, but nothing honestly spectacular. I thought they did really well, in that comeback against Scotland to get back to 19-all, but they couldn't respond, once Scotland went again and went ahead, and that's something that kind of, the next leg of the development really is being able to do that, put in a lot of efforts to get back on par, but kind of blew themselves out, kind of similar to England against Ireland, really. And then Scotland were just able to take the win. But they were in control, against Wales and never looked like losing that one. And one good thing about this fixture for them, they don't have any hang-ups about playing France compared to England. Italy never beaten England. They've beaten France before, and as I said, they got that draw last year. They came close a couple of years ago as well on the scoreline. So there isn't like a fear factor or a mental block, I think, there for them against France the way there is against England. On the English side of things, the French side of things, cruise to victory over Wales, obviously first up, but then very wasteful against England. That first half, they created so many chances but couldn't finish them off. Very poor handling. Conditions taken into account or wherever, still should have been finishing off a couple of those chances. Then one of the big talking points about the selection is 7-1 split on the bench. So on that bench there, Luku is the only forward. That would be a funny one. The only back on the bench, which obviously means an injury, and there's going to be a bit of kind of movement around, reshuffling or whatever in the back line. And it'd be interesting as well if Luku comes on in that scenario. Are they again going to move Dupont maybe to 10 or like the way they did before? Because that really didn't work for them. Are they going to leave Dupont where he is, where he's best, and maybe stick Luku somewhere else? We'll have to see. Like it's almost tempting fate. It's kind of similar to like Scotland against Ireland went for a 6-2 split. What happens? Russell and Graham smack heads. They're both off, and suddenly that's your two, back substitutes used up, fairly early in the game as well. Certainly earlier than they would have expected those to come on. So it's almost guaranteed, right? When you do something like this, that first 10 minutes or so, one back off injured, maybe like a head knock or something like that. Failed HIA maybe, right? And then, before half time, another back off, some kind of leg injury or something like that. And then like, what are you supposed to do then? I guess one of those forwards, is going to have to go somewhere on the wing or somewhere. But it almost feels like it's guaranteed to happen just because they're kind of tempting fate for it, right? But, talking about the French team, I think one thing for them as well is Flamand coming back, is a huge bonus. Like that guy is just absolute class. I think if the Lions included France, he'd probably be in the second row for the Lions. He's just such a good player. And then, you got Atasogbe coming back in for Pernod. And the thing with it is Pernod, obviously a fantastic player, great try scoring record, but Antasogbe, BLBRE, both great try scorers as well. So, and they are really finishers. Like the French wings are mainly finishers. BLBRE does go looking for work, infield as well. I think Panot does that sometimes, but kind of drifts in and out of games. But once he gets chances, like he finishes. I think Antasogbe is kind of about that similar mold. Is give him a chance and he's going to get over for you. And then Barret coming in, first of all, Ramos at 10. They probably just want to give him a run out there and get Barret into the team as well. I think he's another kind of special player, and just building up that depth as well in terms of the options they have in certain positions as well. France with one of the deepest squads in the Six Nations in terms of just absolute quality dripping all over this 23. But yeah, at the same time, Italy have been able to kind of stymie them, and even when France have scored a few tries, Italy have stuck with them too. So, but I think in terms of Italy potentially winning the game, they probably do have to keep it a lower score. They probably try to keep France to somewhere in the teens, and then for themselves, somewhere kind of similar to last year's score, or 2 years ago, should I say, where they got 24 points. So if they can score somewhere in that 21, 24 points, and then keep France in the teens, I think that's their route to win. I don't see Italy winning the game kind of 36 points to 33 or 30 or something like that. It feels like a little bit too much of a stretch that if France are scoring enough tries to get to 30 odd points, you're probably going to be on the losing team, right? But it's really interesting kind of matchup here because everyone's kind of focused on, first of all, like Ireland and Wales, about like new coach there and how that's going to go. Everybody kind of expecting an Ireland win, but also there is that, certainly on the Irish side, that trepidation of that little unknown about like, well, what if Wales do turn up because they got a new coach and suddenly Ireland have lost when nobody expected them to. So that's kind of an interesting one there, right? Then the big game of the weekend is obviously Calcutta Cup, England versus Scotland. England looking to break that streak of 4 wins for Scotland, and reclaim that, but also kind of being able to kick on themselves. And then you have this one here where like a lot of people maybe kind of overlook this, because a lot of time, especially, if you go back maybe 3 years and before, like people would have looked at the weekend and said, oh, I can only watch 2 games. I'll skip whoever Italy are playing unless that's my country, my team. I'm going to skip the Italy game, right? Whereas this one here, like I'm looking at this and thinking like this is going to be a fascinating game. And honestly, even as an Irish fan, obviously I'm going to be excited to watch Ireland and I want to watch Ireland, right? But if I just kind of take a step back away from that and look at the matches in terms of kind of, what are the most interesting games of the weekend? Number 1 is England versus Scotland. Number 2 is Italy versus France. And number 3 is Wales versus Ireland. Just because of the potential in terms of results going one way or another. I think this one really has a lot going for it. And, I talked about in the intro as well, Italy looking to kick on, because they got that win against Wales that most people expected them to get. But now, honestly, nobody expects them really to win any of their other games. So they've got France, to target. They've got potentially, like Ireland as well in that final game to kind of ambush them. Ireland think, oh yeah, all we have to do is beat Italy and we win the title. And then Italy decide, well, actually, no, you're not going to do that. And then obviously the England one as well, where I think that's going to be a bigger stretch for them, simply because they've beaten France before, they've beaten Ireland before. But they do want to kick on here. They don't want to go from last year where they had, a couple, like a draw and a couple of wins. And then come into this year and then only have one win. It'll feel like a backward step for them, even though you can see their play has certainly progressed. And then France, looking to get back on the horse, they, up until they lost against England, they were the favourites for the tournament, heavy favourites for the tournament as well. A lot of people were kind of expecting that, the Ireland France game was going to be, a Grand Slam decider, and a lot of people tipping France to win that one and claim a Grand Slam, and not just win the Six Nations this year, which they haven't done for a while, but also do it in style by claiming a Grand Slam as well. So that's gone in terms of Grand Slam, but the actual championship itself is still very much alive. There's still 4 teams in it at the minute who have genuine chances to win the title. And France definitely among the strong favourites of those. But they've got to get back here. They've got to really go for a excuse me, a 5-point win in this one, because if they're to win the title, it means that Ireland or England or whoever are their rivals are going to end up on probably 4 wins out of 5, right? So France have to be 4 wins out of 5, and then it's going to come down to bonus points. So it's very important for them that they don't get bogged down into a game like last year, where maybe they scrape a win, but they don't get a bonus point. That's probably not going to be, I won't say acceptable, but certainly not going to be optimal for them coming out of this. So lots of, I think, little kind of nuances and stuff to this game. In terms of my prediction, I think had France kind of just scraped over against England, and actually held on to that win when they were winning with 5 minutes to go, I think Italy might have had a better chance, because then Italy would have been the ones who were waiting to ambush them. But now, France have really kind of been, alerted to the dangers by that loss to England. I think they're going to be more switched on for this one because of that, and because they're looking to bounce back, and a lot of these players are kind of looking to, I wouldn't restore the reputation is gone a bit far, right? But they're obviously, pride have been hurt by the performance against England, and they'll want to kind of set the record straight on that, and they're going to want to produce in this one. So therefore, I think that France are probably going to win, and they probably will get their bonus point as well. But Italy, we're still going to see some good stuff from them as well, and potentially, Italy could come out of this with 2 losing bonus points. So my prediction for this is a France win, but Italy not too far away from them. Okay, so that's the end of this one. Let me know what you think down in the comments.